Vikings didn't just raid, they conquered. 793. Vikings raid Lindisfarne Monastery. This kicked off the Viking Age in Europe. Britons started dreading the sea daily, waiting for these fierce raiders. England was split into 7 kingdoms, the Heptarchy. These small kingdoms couldn't fund a navy. Their armies barely protected cities, let alone coasts. In 50 years, Vikings hit Canterbury, Dorchester, London, and more. Viking raids kept coming, non-stop. England saw big changes then. Northumbria, weakened by civil wars, broke into 3. East Anglia fell to the Mercians, becoming independent. Mercia peaked, taking Middlesex, Essex, and ruling neighbors. But it soon fought itself and never recovered. Wessex grew most, adding Sussex and Kent. Saxons beat Mercians, making borders on the Lee and Thames. 865 to 300 longships hit the Isle of Thanet. A Viking army of 5,000 minus 10,000 landed. Sagas name leaders, sons of Ragnar Lodbrok, Ivar the Boneless, Abba the Terrible, Halfdan Ragnarsson. English records called them the Great Danish Army and the Great Pagan Army. Sagas claim revenge for Ragnar's death, captured and killed by King Ælla II of Northumbria. Historians doubt this story. Ælla II wasn't king then, just fighting his brother. He couldn't have executed Ragnar. Ragnar's more myth than history. His sons are confusing. Sagas even disagree on who led the army. The revenge story is a handy excuse for conquest, which was the real goal of the Danish invasion. Kent, including Thanet, didn't want to fight, paying ransom for peace. Vikings then sailed to East Anglia. Its king, Edmund, also paid ransom. But this time, Vikings asked to stay for winter. They built a fort and got horses, making them the biggest, toughest army. Autumn 866. Vikings marched on Northumbria. The war for the crown just ended with Ælla II winning. He took Jorvik. His brother Osbert hid. Ælla's forces were tired from fighting. So when Vikings reached Eoforwic, Ælla II fled the capital. The next year, Ælla and his brother tried to retake Eoforwic, but the Northumbrians were ambushed in the city. Both brothers died, in battle or captivity, with Ælla executed brutally, the, quote, Blood Eagle. Vikings split Northumbria by the Tyne. South, Eoforwic became Jorvik, the Danish capital. North, English Northumbria remained, with a puppet king. Vikings then eyed Mercia. 868. They captured Nottingham. Mercian king Burgred I asked Wessex for help. Together, they stopped the Vikings, forcing a truce for cash. The next year, Vikings invaded Mercia again, but kept their word. Instead of raiding, they peacefully went to East Anglia. Local King Edmund tried to stop them, lost at Thetford. Edmund was captured and martyred, later made a saint. Vikings stayed in East Anglia, led by Halfdan Ragnarsson, say chronicles. Successes in England drew more Scandinavians. New groups set out for England, wanting to join the winning side. In 870, King Bagsec arrived in East Anglia with a large army, the Great Summer Army. His origins are unknown, but his troops significantly boosted Viking numbers. By late 870, Halfdan and his army went up the Thames, deep into England. They took Reading, from where Vikings raided Wessex. King Aethelred besieged Reading in early 871 and won some small battles. But with reinforcements from Bagsec, Vikings broke through, chasing the Saxons. Near Ashdown, Saxons fought hard and won. Young Alfred, Aethelred's brother, led a key attack, securing victory. Vikings lost heavily. King Bagsec died. His forces panicked and fled Wessex. King Aethelred pursued, winning small fights. In one skirmish, he was fatally wounded. Alfred, later the Great, became the new king of Wessex. Vikings didn't wait long for more wins. Summer 871, King Guthrum led the Vikings. Unclear if he came with the Ragnarsson brothers or later. A Danish prince who lost a throne bid, he sought a new home with supporters, bringing nearly 100 ships and 3,000-plus warriors. Under Guthrum, Vikings attacked again, besieging Alfred's forces at Wilton. Both sides were weary. and Guthrum soon agreed to leave Wessex. In return, Alfred paid a large ransom, the Danegeld. He imposed a new tax to fund it, initially temporary, then permanent. Vikings retreated to London but planned to fight on. Alfred knew this and prepared. He reformed the army. Instead of drafting everyone, only 1 in 10 served, the others supported him. This made a stronger fighting force. In autumn, as Vikings planned, a new campaign, news came from the north. Northumbrians had rebelled and expelled Danish rulers. Halfdan quickly moved north, ruthlessly crushing the revolt over a year, then declared himself King of Jorvik. Meanwhile, Guthrum settled in East Anglia, naming himself king. 2 years later, Vikings invaded Mercia from both sides, switching from forcing everyone into the army to building a system. Only 1 in 10 men had to serve. 9 people had his back. This made things more professional. Valkyries, ready for battle, news from the north. Northumbrians are rising against the Danes and kicked out their puppet kings, so Halfdan rushed his army north, crushed the Anglian rebellion in a year, then declared himself King of Jorvik. Guthrum, he took East Anglia. Now he's king there. 2 years later, Vikings attacked Mercia from both sides. The Mercian king ran from Britain, no fight offered. Mercian leaders met at Repton, forced a bout of Vikings. Mercia split. Vikings ruled one half, Angles the other. A puppet king from Denmark took the Anglian side. Then, the Viking forces split. Halfdan went north, securing his own land. Scots and Britons were raiding his kingdom. Guthrum chose to keep fighting Wessex. In 875 he sailed, attacking Saxons from the south. They took Wareham. Alfred rode out, facing Vikings, trapping Guthrum. Peace talks led to a huge payout for quiet. Guthrum sailed home but returned, seizing Exeter 2 years later. The same thing happened again. Alfred besieged them, starting ransom talks for peace. Legend says a talk happened here between Guthrum and a Saxon captive. The Viking king asked how to beat Wessex. He was told, raise a bigger army, or just give up on conquering it. That autumn, more than 100 Danish ships were expected. As the ships appeared, Guthrum killed hostages, ending talks. But a storm destroyed almost all his fleet. The Vikings tried talking again. Alfred paid them to leave Wessex. That deal didn't last long either. Alfred spent 878 at his country home in Chippenham near the Thames. Risky move, as Viking lands were just across the river. Guthrum saw the king's mistake. He suddenly attacked Chippenham, then headed for Wessex's capital. King Alfred somehow escaped the city. With a few soldiers, he hid in the Somerset marshes as Vikings took his kingdom. Meanwhile, Jarl Ubba settled in Devonshire. He raided Somerset but couldn't catch Alfred. Devonshire Saxons formed their own army, led by Oda. They beat the Vikings at Sinwit. Ubba died. Once Devonshire was free, Alfred arrived with over 3,000 warriors. More Saxon forces from Wessex joined Alfred. The Saxon army effectively doubled. Guthrum was celebrating his win, settled in Chippenham, unaware of Ubba's defeat or Alfred's growing army. The Saxons' approach caught the Vikings off guard. They quickly gathered their forces and moved to Ethandun. They took Bratton Castle, blocking Alfred. Saxons, with more troops and better prep, smashed the Vikings. The rest were trapped at Bratton Castle for 2 weeks. Starving Vikings finally asked for peace. The treaty, Guthrum became Christian. Vikings left Wessex and western Mercia. Alfred allied with Mercia's ruler, marrying his daughter to him. Vikings were beaten, their conquests over. But the Danish-Saxon war in Britain didn't stop. Now Wessex was the attacker. After his huge win, Alfred kept preparing for war. He built forts across the kingdom, called burhs. These aimed to stop Viking advances. For sea attacks, Alfred built a fleet bigger and better than Viking longships. Vikings, only loosely following Guthrum, broke the peace. One group settled in London, raiding Wessex constantly. Alfred couldn't take it. In 886, he crossed the Thames and besieged London. Vikings were surprised. The city fell quickly to Saxons. Guthrum sought peace again. England was split in two. The border ran from London to Chester. It followed the old Roman road from Canterbury to Wroxeter. The English called it Watling Street. Saxons controlled one side. The other, the Danelaw, was Viking land. The Danelaw wasn't a separate country. Officially, old kingdoms still existed. What set it apart? Scandinavian jarls ruled. Law followed Scandinavian rules. Customs were mostly Scandinavian. Settlers from the north were welcome. The Viking alliance and the Danelaw fell apart fast. Kings changed yearly. Their rule was weak. Local jarls held the real power, fighting each other for kingship. The Danelaw became a pirate hub, Vikings raiding even Scandinavia. Eventually, the Danelaw split into 3 areas. The Kingdom of Jorvik, ruled by descendants of Halfdan and Ivar. They constantly fought over power. East Anglia, where Guthrum held power until 890. Then a civil war started. And the 5 boroughs, ruled by a jarls alliance. Soon, Alfred tested his new plans. A Viking band under Jarl Haston, who'd raided the Franks, arrived. Haston landed in Kent in 892, plundered briefly, but fled Alfred, losing many men on the Kent shore. Saxons beat them there. In 893, Haston raided Devonshire, then invaded Mercia. He lost at Buddington but took Chester. He didn't keep it long, abandoning it that year. In 894, his army built a fort at Bedford near London. But the next year, Alfred arrived, kicking Haston out. In 896, another key event. Saxons won at sea for the first time off Dorset, but it cost them dearly. King Alfred died in 899. His young son, Edward I, took the Wessex throne. After a power fight with his cousin Æthelwold, with no real army, Æthelwold lost and fled to the Danelaw for Viking help. King Aelric I of East Anglia led the Vikings. They attacked Wessex by sea, raided, then left. Edward I attacked back. He captured East Anglia. On their return, Kentish troops lagged behind. Vikings attacked them at home. Both Æthelwold and Viking King Eoric I died in the fight. Mercia suffered greatly, split by the Danelaw. In 909, Mercian ruler Ethelred II invaded the Danelaw. The official reason, protecting holy relics. Mercians took some forts but couldn't hold them. The Danelaw split their kingdom. In 909, Mercia's ruler, Æthelred II, invaded the Danelaw, claiming to protect holy relics. Mercia took forts but couldn't keep them. In 910, Jorvik's king Halfdan II raided Mercia. Ethelred II met the Vikings head-on, awaiting Edward. The Battle of Tettenhall saw allied forces crush the Vikings. Halfdan II and his brothers fell in battle. While Danelaw Vikings fought in Mercia, Norway's Harold Fairhair invaded the Danelaw. Annoyed by British Viking raids, he fought back. He destroyed forts, took treasure, and captured many. This weakened Viking power in the Danelaw. The Battle of Tettenhall cost Mercia dearly. Æthelred II was fatally wounded. His wife, Æthelflæd, Alfred the Great's daughter, took charge. She built up Mercia's army and fortified its border. In 917, she captured Derby, reclaiming eastern Mercia. In 918, Edward I beat East Anglian Vikings, killing their king. That same year, Æthelflæd died, and Edward united Wessex and Mercia. He also set up a protectorate over Jorvik just before he died. Edward I split his lands among his sons. Mercia went to his illegitimate son, Æthelstan. Wessex went to his son, Elfweird. But Elfweird died soon after. Some suspected Æthelstan was behind it, and he then unified both kingdoms. The Anglo-Saxons, growing stronger, worried their neighbors. King Constantine II of Alba tried to help Vikings resist, but Æthelstan attacked, taking Jorvik before the Scots arrived. Æthelstan prepared to fight the Scots. In 934, Æthelstan invaded Alba, looting it. Constantine II fled. He rallied a coalition against Æthelstan. This included Owain ap Dyfnwal, Dublin's king Olaf Guthrum, and others from the Isles, plus Jorvik Jarls wanting freedom. In 937, a huge Viking, Welsh, and Scots army invaded England. They took Northumbria, united in Jorvik, and raided Mercia. Æthelstan met them at Brunanburh. Brunanburh marked the final Anglo-Saxon unification. Saxons, Angles, Mercians, and Northumbrians became one. They emerged from the battle as English, defeating their foes. Olaf and Constantine fled. Owain likely died and vanished from history. The English kept their lands, forming a new power. A new entity on the map, England. It would face more challenges. More conquests and struggles lay ahead in the next century.